I'm Ms. Zeman. Today we're going to be talking about fake news. So let's get to it. Fake news, misinformation, and disinformation, and how to avoid them. Our clear learning target today is to learn the definition and types of fake news, why it is created, and we're going to talk about how to avoid it. So what is fake news? Well, according to the library at University of Michigan, fake news is a term that has come to mean different things to different people. At its core, we are defining fake news as those news stories that are false. The story itself is fabricated with no verifiable facts, sources, or quotes. Sometimes these stories may be propaganda that is intentionally designed to mislead the reader, or may be designed as clickbait. In recent years, fake news stories have proliferated via social media, in part because they are so easily and quickly shared online. Now I want to talk about two types of fake news, okay? The first is misinformation, and the second is disinformation. Think of misinformation as inaccurate information that you're sharing unknowingly. So if you think about it like if you are unintentionally telling someone the wrong way to get somewhere. You think it's the correct way, but in fact, it's actually not. That you are telling them misinformation. But if you do, in fact, know the correct way to get somewhere and you are intentionally telling the person the wrong way, then you are spreading disinformation. That's the deliberate creation and or sharing of false information in order to mislead. So what is fake news not? It's not information that you disagree with. Just because you disagree does not mean it's not true.
There are many different kinds of mis- and disinformation, including satire or parody, manipulated content, fabricated content, imposter content, misleading content, false context, and false connection. We'll go over each of them.
So let's start with satire and parody. What is it? Well, satire is defined as the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's vices. Now, in media, we see that as typically something that is meant to be funny, and usually we can tell that it's satire because it's obvious that it's either outrageous or too funny to be true. And a good example of that is The Onion. All right, manipulated content. What is that? Typically, we see that in the form of images, when images are altered using Photoshop or other photo editing software. Here are some examples of those. Then we have fabricated content. That's content that is 100% false. It is completely made up just to do harm and to mislead you as a reader. We do not want to fall for fabricated content. Imposter content. That's material involving the impersonation of genuine resources. Typically, that means they use the same brand or the same type of typography that a genuine news source would use. Misleading information is information that is provided to you as a fact, when in actuality, it's an opinion. False context is presenting factual content with false contextual information. A false connection is when the headlines or visuals that are paired up with an article aren't actually related. And ways in which you can identify misleading content, false context, or false connections are to actually read the article that's presented. Many times you'll find clues that the articles don't always add up. Typically, we can kind of see that in the beginning. That might sound good in the first sentence or two, and then by the middle to end, it sounds completely fabricated. We'll talk a little bit more about how to identify false news in the next coming slides. First, let's talk about the creators of mis and disinformation. What's their deal? There are many reasons why someone would create or disseminate false information, but here are a few. If somebody wants to make money regardless of the content, if somebody's trying to make a joke or to entertain you, or it could be from poor or untrained journalists. Sometimes the pressure of the 24-hour news cycle, as well as the explosion of news sites, can contribute to shoddy writing that doesn't always follow professional journalistic standards or ethics. Or it might be from people who want to sway you to their way of political thinking or their beliefs, ideals and beliefs. Now let's talk about ways to protect yourself. And I'm going to introduce you to a concept called SIFT. When presented with information, I want you to sift through it, meaning I want you to stop, make sure the headline and the picture matches the content, and ask yourself, does the headline sound realistic? And remember, don't believe everything that you read. And then also check the URL. Does it have any odd suffixes or substitutions? Then I want you to investigate. Check out the author's credentials. Skip any anonymous news reports. Typically, when a news article is on a website, an author's name will link to the biography of their work, or at least a summary of their credentials. Look for that. And dig deeper, and then find better coverage. Consult and compare competing sources. Major news items will be reported in more than one place. So find out who else is reporting about on that. Are they saying the same thing? And you can also use this media-based chart to find more reliable sources. Here's the chart. And then finally, trace. Trace the claims, quotes, and media back to the original context. Does the example cite a variety of sources, including official and expert sources? And does the example hyperlink to other quality sources? So again, most good journalistic articles will have links to their sources. Look for those and follow up on them. And then, as I mentioned before, do a reverse image search to confirm the image authenticity. And then, as I mentioned before, do a reverse image search to confirm that it is authentic.